So as many of you know, this week has been a big, huge week for me. And yesterday was a huge day. It was the day that I finally met with the oncologist. You know, if you've watched any of these videos, and especially the ones this week and the last one I did on Wednesday, where I hadn't slept, I'd only slept an hour, couldn't sleep, my brain was racing. It was probably the most raw video I've ever done, just explaining the emotions and the ups and downs and everything that I've been feeling. And I guess the best word I can say for that was just, I was so overcome by emotion that there was nothing else to do but just to let it out all day long. Going into yesterday, which was in my mind the biggest day since I was diagnosed, and my surgeon actually texted me yesterday morning. She's amazing, and she said, you know, I'm there with you and OJ in spirit, and I know this is the biggest day for you since diagnosis. So it really was finding out whether or not I'm going to be doing chemo, and if so, what's that supposed to look like. And as you know, I just was kind of like, that was my big thing I was terrified from the beginning, was chemo. And I don't think it's even the being sick part, although I don't like being sick, and I've been down now for over a month and I hate it. I'm not good at it, but I'm trying to be still and let myself be where I am. But really the losing my hair part. I'm not taking my hair for granted. This is real hair. I've never had to get extensions because I have a ton of hair, which is really nice. But that was also a big fear of mine. So going into yesterday was nice because I actually got 12 hours of sleep, which again is amazing. That just never happens except when I do the Magic Sleep Solution. And let's face it, I did take an Ativan before bed too, and my pain medicine because my brain would not shut off. So I don't know, I woke up yesterday feeling more hopeful and ready to take it on. And I feel like because I let myself go through what I went through on Wednesday, the toughest day, I would say all week has been tough, but Wednesday was like the worst by far, sobbing and letting it out and dealing with everything. Because I did that, I was able to sort of cleanse out a lot of that so that yesterday I could be present and handle what needed to be handled. And that's a lesson right there for everybody, because a lot of times we don't want to go through the hard things and we put it off. We don't want to know the diagnosis, so we don't go to the doctor. We don't want to know what is or isn't going on with our mental health, so we stay away from the counselor or whoever might be able to give us answers. Or we just don't want to deal with what we know is hiding inside of us, that grief, that pain, that heartache, that loss, that fear. And I know, because I understand, like I'm the same way, but I have to tell you, we have to go there, because when you go there, you give yourself, it's like a pressure cooker, you know, it's like that little bit of steam that you let off, just enough so that the pressure might start building back up again, but it's not going to blow the lid, right? And that's what happened for yesterday. And then it helps you to be more present in the times when you really need to be there. If we don't allow ourselves to feel and to grieve and to heal, then we are going to explode. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. So I went into yesterday with that mindset. We went down to Phoenix, it's 2 hours away from here, and met with the oncologist that was recommended. The reason why we went down there, a couple things. First of all, because there are more resources in a bigger city than there are in a smaller town like mine. And second of all, because we needed someone who was outside of this whole healthcare system to give us a totally, I don't want to say unbiased, because I don't think people here are biased. I just think there are limited options here. So we wanted to go to someone who maybe would give us more options and really weigh the options in the science and know that for sure. So we went down there and went into the appointment and met with this really sweet, very kind man who was my oncologist, and he basically explained the facts. And here's the deal. I am going to be doing chemo. So that was disappointing and hard to hear, but basically I talked to my surgeon, Dr. Dupree, last night after meeting with the oncologist, and she explained it this way, and this is the way that I've tried to explain it to my kids, is it's like we've decided to buy an insurance policy, because even though my breast cancer was only 10 millimeters, tiny tumor, totally clear margins, no cancer in the nipple, no cancer in anywhere around it, no cancer on the other side, no cancer in any of the lymph nodes that they took. So we don't think it spread tissue to tissue. But as the oncologist explained, there are two ways that cancer spreads, and especially this triple negative breast cancer, which is what I had. And it's very aggressive, and as he said, very nasty little thing, because it can just do things that you don't expect. And the other way that it can travel is through the blood. So we are buying an insurance policy in case one tiny little speck of a cell of that tumor, of the cancer, got into my bloodstream. And if it did, and it gets somewhere big, like my brain or my heart or my lungs or my bones or my pancreas, then we're talking about, then it becomes deadly. So even though I have stage 1, clear margins, everything looked great, did double mastectomy, all of that, and for some types of cancer, that's enough treatment. For this type of cancer, it's just not. Because the risk is too high, even if there's just the tiniest, slimmest chance that one little thing got out, because every other indication is that I'm cancer-free and I'm healthy. But I can't celebrate being cancer-free if I still think there's a little speck in there somewhere. And that's what the chemo does. It kills it all. And as you know, chemo kills everything. So it's the only solution. There's no other option other than not doing chemo. Because triple negative means that the other ways that they might treat it, 3 other ways with 2 other, anti-hormone, progesterone, estrogen treatments, and then a HER type treatment. I don't even know what that's all about, but it's a different thing. Those receptors in my body are turned off. So in my cancer, that means none of those would work. So that's why I only have this option. The other part that made me feel better though, and like I said, I was so glad I was able to be present and feel calmer than normal. I wasn't totally calm, but I was much calmer than I was the day before and the week leading up to it because of all that and because of a lot of prayer. I have to say, a lot of prayer and just, oh man, I received the grace I've been praying for. I needed that grace. I've been living grace lately, learning it and living it and walking every day. Like that power, that help, that forgiveness. I've been getting that every day. And so as I sat there and he explained that the traditional type of chemo for triple negative breast cancer of any type, of any size or shape, tumor, is basically 8 rounds, and it's 2 different drugs alternating every other week. And basically it ends up being 16 weeks total every other week of treatment, and it can have bad long-term side effects, especially for those, here's where the genetics comes in, who have the BRCA1 gene. That's me. And the long-term consequences can be bad, like heart failure, like leukemia, like neuropathy, where you end up with numbness and tingling in parts of your bodies during the chemo and it doesn't ever go away. And so he said, because your tumor is so small, I feel like it's kind of overkill and like we shouldn't punish you because everything looks so good and you're healthy and you're young, but you're young also and you have a lot of years left. So we got to make sure that we cut everything. So we have to do chemo, but there's another type of chemo that we can do that's a little bit less intense, and it's also it's less time. So the type of chemo I'm going to be doing is 4 sessions, 4 rounds, which is way better than 8. And it is every 3 weeks. So I'll do 1 week on, 2 weeks off. I have to go down to the valley to do it because they don't even offer it up here. And it doesn't have long-term side effects. Yes, there will be nausea. And he says, I probably will be sick for a few days up to a week after. But then the weeks off, I should feel kind of normal, other than feeling tired and things, but I should be able to feel kind of normal. The other option that they can offer me down there is cold capping, which means they kind of put your hair on ice while you're doing your treatments, and it has been shown to prevent a lot of hair loss. Now, that doesn't mean that it's guaranteed that I won't lose my hair, or I might lose some of it or half of it. That's why I'm grateful to have literally like twice as much hair as the normal person. I mean, I'm like, if I lose half of it, I probably could still look pretty normal. If I just had this much hair, I probably could still look pretty normal. So I'm feeling very blessed for the hair that I have, and blessed that I have the option to at least try. And if I don't, I don't. I can't argue that and I can't fight that, but I can just say that I'm grateful to have the option to try. I know it doesn't work for everybody, but I'm going to give it a try. So that's good news too. I will probably be starting in about a month because I first have to go through my last expansion today, and then I have to do my reconstruction surgery, and there's another big question, which I will talk in another video about whether I'm doing a full hysterectomy or just doing the ovaries and fallopian tubes. We're going to work that out, but I have to do that surgery first, then I have to heal before I can start the chemo, but I also have to start the chemo within 3 months from my surgery date, so that means I have to start before August 24th, and it will take 3 months about. So that is where we are. How am I feeling about it? First of all, I'm super grateful for those who did reach out yesterday and have all week, and who have, been mindful of me, because your thoughts and prayers really do help, and the encouragement really does help. And for the few friends that really called me and checked in on me yesterday and the day before, I really am grateful for that. I woke up this morning at 4:30, went to bed at 11:30, and just couldn't sleep because my mind's kind of doing this again, kind of wondering more than worrying, just wondering about a lot of things. And so, it's a bridge we'll cross when we get there. There's also this concern that my insurance might not cover this type of chemo because it's not the traditional gold standard type for my type of cancer, even though it's totally recommended by all the oncologists that we talk to for how small my tumor is and all the other stuff. So we're hoping the insurance covers it. I'm just going to assume it is, as my doctor said, and we'll cover that bridge when we get there if we need to. But, I feel hopeful, and I'm glad, I'm glad. I feel like I'm grateful to have an insurance policy, and I don't want something terrible to go suddenly terribly wrong because I didn't do everything I could to fight this. So I am feeling more like a warrior today. And I can see now too that even when I have been down and really in the trenches, even though you're not up with your guns fighting, you're in the trenches just like resting or coping or healing or whatever, that's a warrior too, right? So I've got the warrior spirit. I'm ready to go, and I've got my necklace today. See if you can see that. It says Overcomer. This is an Elizabeth Smart necklace, and I love this because if there's one thing I know I am, it's an overcomer. But guess what? I'm also a becomer, and I'm also a flourisher. So we'll get back to flourishing one day. It'll be a few months, but we're taking it literally one day, one step at a time. For today, let's focus on being overcomers, And if I've already overcome a lot and you're ready to move past that, which I have been so many times in my life, how about being a becomer? Becoming the best you can be. There's always another level. And if not that, the next step is flourishing. So if you're not flourishing yet and you feel like you've become a lot and you've overcome a lot, let's work on that. That's where my mind is. That's what I'm focusing on. I'm sure it'll shift again tomorrow, but we're going to do chemo. We're going to do this. We're going to kill this, literally kill this, all of this, and battle on, battle on.